Hello, and welcome to another art video. And this one is a little bit different because although it's got lots and lots of mixed media in, I'm doing a paper collage as well. And I've done a couple of these. Just let me flip this back if I can get it under the camera. These are my pigeons, and there are a couple of others, but really loving combining the paper collage with my usual mixed media practice at the moment. So, you know, it's something new for me that I've resisted for a while. I've no idea why I resisted it. I guess a lot of the collages that I saw when I was doing art in university in my first degree, back in the day, last century, quite literally, it had a very strong political message, and that's not where I wanted to go with my art. I just wanted pictures that were, well, as my tutor at the time said, all I do is pretty pictures. And now that I've been doing it for so long, I think, well, actually, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with art that just makes people feel nice. Doesn't have to mean anything. So today, we're going to finish this little fellow's wing, and I've got a couple of rocks to put down too because I've cut some of those out. And I moved them because these were here, and I thought, no, actually I want him to be there. This is a picture of St. Mike, very loosely, St. Michael's Mount in Cornwall, and I wanted to be able to see the mount as well as have him here in the foreground. So let's just glue those on. I'm using Eileen's tacky glue. You can use any sort of white glue at all. Some people use glue stick. It really doesn't matter. Now, because I've put a bit of a shadow under those rocks, I'm going to have to put them this way down, but they can go over here. And when they've dried a little bit, I'll add to the shadow underneath. I've got another little one here. And again, it's got a shadow and a highlight, so that matters. And he can go over there. That will be fine. They're all cut out of coloured paper that's pre-coloured, and because I do cards as well, I've got all these pre-coloured bits of card, but basically this is the font of all papers at the moment, and the rocks were cut out of little bits left over from other projects like that there, and, you know, bits and pieces here. It doesn't matter, as long as it looks nice and as long as it looks in keeping with what you're trying to do, it will work. So back to the seagull. We need some feathers. I've started cutting a couple here. So basically it's a matter of getting the colour of paper you want. Now, I've coloured some of these bits and pieces with my Derwent Inktense pencils, and there's quite a bit involved that would keep you here all day. If you like this technique and would like to see more of it, I'm going to do some tutorials on my Patreon. There's a link below in the description box for my Patreon. So, you know, that will take you through the whole process, starting from a piece of white paper, because that's what these have started with. Everything you see here has started with a blank page and white paper. And it's cut from there and coloured and so forth. So it's not hard. Actually, it's not hard at all. But, you know, knowing how to do it is obviously half the battle. Right, so we've got a feather here. I'm working on the bottom of the wing now. I want to make some little cuts. I'm using my Tonic small scissors, which are really quite good for this. And I'm just making some little curved cuts into the wing there and taking out very, very tiny triangle sections. I'm hoping you can see that against my finger there. Maybe, no, can't see it better on the back. And a couple on the other side too, again working towards where the centre vein of the feather would be. Just a little bit of a curved cut so that you end up with something that looks like a feather. You can also make some other random cuts. What I'm going to do is just swap my glasses. It's that kind of deal. I thought there was something wrong. I'm thinking I can't see my work so well anymore. Yeah, wrong glasses. So that one would go somewhere there. Now, I've worked from the top of the wing down. Normally, I'd work from the bottom up. So let's cut another one because I think that's a bit long and I don't want to waste all of the feathers. So what I've got is I keep a little pot and I put all the cuts in there. See, there's another black one. That might actually fit. No, it's also a little bit long. I would rather keep those and not waste the paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut up one side, make a little tip of the wing and round the other. And I don't throw much away. I mean, these tiny little rocks, they came from absolutely nothing. And again, make those cuts again into the side of the wing. It's all very random. You can use die cutting tools for this, and I've got quite a lot of Sizzix dies that I use for my cards. But in the interests of art being art, I wanted to do it by hand, as it were. Okay, so that one could go there, and they would overlap, you see. So that overlap onto the bottom. So I think what I've got to do now is, before I put those on, finding my tweezers would be a good step forward. Oh, I hate it when that happens. They just flick. They're live. Okay, what we need is another little one for up the side here. I don't think that scrap's going to be big enough. So what I would do here is cut a very small one from the black card. Don't want it so rounded. Feathers are an organic thing, therefore they've got all sorts of different shapes, just like anything else. Okay, just try that. And that in the finished article will go there. So that reveals that we've got a bit of a gap here. So I'm going back to my grey card. Let's cut that off about there. Just cut a small strip, because then I can cut these feathers. Take those away for a sec. Like I said, normally I'd start from the bottom up so that they naturally overlap, but for some reason this time I got it into my head to do it backwards. That works. Make it work. So just again cut a rough feather shape out. That's a little bit too weird. Just recut it. Cut these little snips out of the side. Gives it some texture. Careful not to cut it all the way through, which I almost did there. And when they're glued, they'll be glued up there. So that means, yeah, we need another row. I'm so sorry if this is boring, this bit, but at least you get to see it several times and you can see what you're supposed to do in case you like the look of this sort of technique. Like I said, I didn't for absolutely ages, and now I'm addicted to it and can't do anything else. So that's just me. Right, so that's that row. And I think what we can do is we can glue that in. So what I would do there, and this is quite clumsy because I've, like I said, done it backwards. So I'm just going to pick these up, put some glue in there, that area. And then remembering where I had them, you can photograph them too. Take a photo on your phone. And then you can see where everything was. This one I think was next. Yes, it was, because this is the one that I almost cut all the way through. Slightly overlap them. Drop one. Then bring these down. Then this one is kind of half off onto there. There's a tiny, tiny little gap. There are my tweezers up here, which I think has already dried. So what I will do there with that little gap here, this little bit of white, is I will either ignore it or I'll come back in with one of my markers and just put a little dot of grey in there, and I guarantee you won't see it. Right, so this reveals, just want to pull this up because otherwise I'll be really, really in trouble. I really am showing you the hardest way of doing this, and that one's going to come off very shortly, so that won't matter because I can glue it back down. So I think I would put that one, yeah, no, it really does need just that little tiny bit. Here it is. So a couple more. just in that little section there to fill it in. I tend to put lots in because I really quite like abundance, both in art and daily life and all that sort of thing. So I would be tending, let's just pop the glue on ready to go, shall we? I would tend to put too many feathers in rather than not enough, because they're cut from such small pieces of a product that would be wasted, you know. So yeah, right. Don't have to make these cuts all the way down because you'll not see the end, and you need something to hang on to while you're working. Yep, glue those down, and then there's just one. Let that go. Ha! I have enough card left. I did this absolutely on purpose so that it would look brilliant. So I'm sure you knew that. So for the last grey feather, and that can go in the side, and what I'll do is I'll make some little cuts on that just to feather it up a little bit. I think what I've actually achieved now is that the wings are going to be too hidden. So let me just have a look and see. They can go about that, but we take a little bit off that because it doesn't want to be much lower than the actual tail. So let's pull those up then. Put a little bit of, stick to everything. Put a little bit of glue on there. And we may not need 3 now because we're right down at the point of the tail. So that one there. And I would suggest that one there. And because we've got this one, what I'm going to do with this one is just put a little bit of glue on and poke it into the middle of the two. Maybe trim some off. Don't need all of that. Trim a little bit off and just poke that one up there so that the tail looks a little bit more sort of abundant. What do you think? And then coming back here into this bit, I've got one of my Ecoline markers. I'm just going to fill that in. It's not enough. Let me see. I'm going to go instead for a Faber-Castell Warm Grey 4 in Indian ink. Now, because I've made a mark there now, I will make those marks elsewhere as well, so that it looks like if it was done on purpose. But that sort of hides that. And I really, really like my Derwent Drawing Chinese White to colour the ends of the pencils, good grief, the ends of the feathers, just to give them a little bit of definition. And he will get stuck right there. And that's a matter of moving this, because otherwise I will get glue all over it, trust me. Okay, so you can see here on the back that the feathers are actually slightly off the silhouette shape that I started with. Let's pop the glue on there. And then with him, he can go right there where I've made a space. And I'm deliberately putting him over other elements. That's done very much on purpose, because although you hide stuff, you've got to be careful what you hide, because what you're hiding might be something you wanted to show. So there is a bit of pre-planning involved. And again, I will go into all those details when I have, when I do the full tutorial. And then a bit of a highlight with white in the eyes, making sure that all of their eyes are quite highlighted if they're up close. Now, the only thing is he's levitating and we don't want that. So I'm going to grab that Faber-Castell marker again. Bit of wet glue there, which is not good for the pen. but I'm just going to anchor him down a little bit. Rub that with my finger and go back in then with the Eco line. Put a bit of shadow on the sand. It's all very messy and free form. Tuck in around there a little bit. And over the top of these rocks, even though they've got a bit of a highlight, he's actually casting a shadow there, because that anchors him down a little bit more. Don't want him levitating off the Earth's surface. Right, so I'm going to call that finished. And I mean, there's so many things I could be doing to it, but I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Yeah, if you like this and would like to learn the technique in my style that I have here, let me see if I can find my other magpie that's floating around here. Let's bring this out. Oops, sorry, wrong way. My apologies there. Try that. Sorry about that terrible camera craft, but then I can get the pages up here. Pigeons, as you saw, and this little magpie and all the leaves, everything here. The only thing that's actually drawn onto the page is the castle and the mountains behind, but I got sick of it and I thought, you know what, I really want to do a bird on here, but I'd already covered it in and flattened a lot of the tooth of the paper. So coming back with collage meant that I could keep adding layers, but they're not so thick that the book won't close, which is nice. Another one that I quite like is this frog here. Again, really loose background, but you know, collage frog. And normally you wouldn't be able to add stuff because you can add it up to a certain extent, but once the tooth of the paper is flattened down by layers and layers and layers of mixed media, really all you've got left is to start again with another layer of paper, glue that on and start on that. And that's where collage is perfect. Right, that's it for that. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed seeing that, and let me know what you think in the comments. And like I said, do join my Patreon, because what are we now? We're in February now. In the next couple of weeks, I think probably by the end of February, I'll have something for my patrons with collage, because I had a poll on there and they voted that yes, they would like to learn this. So yeah, we're going to go with this, and I don't know what subject it's going to be yet, but it'll be something to do with birds and the natural world, and you guys have got a bit of a head start there. But yes, this is the practice run. I will see you there. Have a beautiful day, and hope you get some art time in. Bye.